Hi Year 6, this is day 2 of your English lessons this week. Yesterday you watched a music video of the song Titanium, which hopefully you enjoyed and was a little bit different to what you've been doing lately for your home learning. Miss Wilcox, I know, taught you about semicolons and colons, and you practiced some sentences. So today what we're going to do is really focus on description, because you're going to be writing the story of the music video by the end of the week. So today we're going to really look at making precise vocabulary choices and making sure that what we're writing makes a lot of sense, and your description is really good. So what I'm going to do is share my screen with you so that you can see all the pages that I'm going to bring up when we're going to talk through the lesson together. So just bear with me for 1 second while I do that. Here we go. Great. So what I would like you to do is to go off and find that video from yesterday and open it up. You might want to pause me for a minute while you do that and then join back in for a second. So I'll let you do that now. Okay, so hopefully you've got your video set up. What I'd like you to now do is re-watch that video just until the boy gets onto his bike. So you don't need to watch the whole thing, just the first section. And I want you to really focus in on what that section is all about. So what's going on in that section of the story. Now, as you're doing that, I'd like you to imagine that you are narrating this story to somebody sitting opposite you who cannot see your screen. So I want you to tell them the story of what's going on. What do you see? What is happening? Okay, so do that now. Pause me, and then we'll go on to the next part together in a second. Okay, hopefully you're back with me now. So I'm going to ask you to do that again. Hopefully your narration was good. You were able to talk through what was going on. But this time, what I would really like you to do is to draw a timeline of the events that are happening and make sure that you put in lots and lots of detail. So for example, the first thing that we see is that a boy is on his hands and knees in the school corridor. There's no one else there other than him. Second thing that happens is we see he slowly lifts his head from his hands. So think about how it's happening, what he's doing. He's sitting up and he's seeing devastation all around him. And just for added detail, there's a hat right next to his right hand. Okay, so hopefully you get the idea and you can read the other points that I've written. So now I'd like you to stop me again, just pause me for a minute and then have a look at the video again and see if you can draw a timeline. Now you will need to pause that video, the music video, as you go along to make sure you're stopping and getting enough detail. Okay, so give yourselves a few minutes to do that. Okay, so like I said this morning at the very beginning, today is all about choosing very factual and specific language that is exact. So we need to make sure that our descriptions are as clear as possible. Okay, I'm going to show you a bit of an example first of maybe what might not be the best kind of way to describe. Hopefully you can see that picture, and it's basically a part of the corridor floor that is covered in mess. And I've described it as papers cover the floor. Now have a think about that sentence. Just take a minute. Can you describe it in a better way? Could you do it any differently? Can you use any more precise vocabulary? Can you focus on one thing in particular? Or can you just describe that whole scene for me? Just have a think about it for a minute. Okay, so I realised that my sentence wasn't very good. So I've actually really improved this and I've chosen the words random papers with curled up edges litter the corridor. Okay, so I've used the word random. I've used that as an adjective to describe the papers that are already there. You don't need loads of words there, just one is enough. And we don't know that they're in any order. They don't look like they are at all. We've noticed that the papers have got curled up edges. So I've described them in a little bit more detail, and also that they're littering the corridor. So I've changed that verb to make it sound much more descriptive and to tell us what's going on. So they're littering the corridor. They're not in a tidy, neat pile. They're all over the floor and it looks a real mess. I've also changed the word floor to corridor, okay, just to describe it a little bit more so you get more of a picture in your mind. So the point of your work today is to try and engage your reader and get a very clear picture in their mind. Okay, so here is a scene where we can see the boy in the middle of the corridor and all the other things that are going on around him. So have a look at the words that I've chosen to use. We want to try and make it as factual as possible. So there's a door that's hanging on its hinges. One hinge is off and it's just hanging on the other two. There are shards of glass on the floor and the window is shattered. So it's not broken, but it's shattered. Okay, so one little push and it might all come tumbling down. There's debris scattered carelessly across the corridor. So debris is a really good word, and some of you might not have ever used that word before, and that's fine. It basically means like the remainder of destruction or something left over. And in this case, it's just rubbish. It's just paper that's all over the corridor. We could describe it as the floor being drenched in paper. So the word drenched, you would feel that if you had been sprayed by a hose or you'd been in a real downpour outside when the weather's really bad. So then the floor looks a little bit like that. Okay, so those descriptive phrases are much, much clearer. You're not just saying that the paper's all over the floor. There's a ball next to the lockers. The locker doors are open. I really want you to think about that precise vocabulary. And we've done this in school before, so you know what you're doing. Okay, just try and make it as factual as you can. And a good way to think about it is to think about how would maybe a detective describe this scene. So a police detective, because later on in the video we can see that the police turn up. Okay, and they're going to want to describe this in minute detail. Okay, so what details would a detective pick out apart from the boy sitting in the middle of the corridor? Because he's not there when the detective turns up. He's on his bike escaping. Okay, what adjectives did a detective use to create information on things that are around them? So what they see. So a way to help you think about your description is to think about the colour, the size, the age, and how things are apart from each other, and the space and distance, and what they look like. Okay, so think about it in real detail as much as you can. So I'm going to stop talking now and just explain what you're going to do for your task today. What I'd like you to do is open a document on the home learning folder, which is called Stills Sheet. And this should have 3 different pictures that you can see that will come down your sheet in 3. And what I'd like you to do is annotate these 3 scene pictures using real factual information. Okay, describe the scene as it actually is. So pick out all those tiny little details and write them all around that picture. If you need to go onto an extra page, go onto an extra page. You want to get as much detail as possible to help you with your writing tomorrow. Okay, and a challenge that I'd like you to have a think about, if you'd like to, is to try and create one mood throughout the 3 pictures. So can you create a mood of like maybe mystery or like a sci-fi mood, or thinking about like the fact that we don't know what's happened because we haven't got a clue until we watch the end of the video. So you might want to use things like debris, which doesn't describe anything in particular. It talks about a general rubbish, a general thing that's left over. You might want to use the word like haphazard, which shows that things are all over the place. They're not in any order. You might want to talk about the fact that the boy leaves the school alone. There's no other children there, just him. And that the teacher is quite fearful and the police turned up. Okay, so that kind of adds to a mystery type mood and an atmosphere that we're trying to create. So think about that as well as you're going through your writing. But if you just manage to annotate your pictures with as much detail as possible, that's all we need to do today. Okay, so it's your turn to get on with it now. Enjoy writing the sentences, and just get as much down as you can so that tomorrow your writing is as easy as possible. Okay, and Miss Thorne is going to help you with that tomorrow. She's going to talk you through a model of what a good one would look like, and she's going to really help you get started with that tomorrow. So enjoy your lesson today, and I'll see you soon.